Welcome back as we work through Congressman Michael McCaul's sobering assessment of the ongoing bloodshed in Gaza and his contention that this conflict is the latest, most visible front of a wider proxy war. Rudy, Texans as a whole are torn on this deeply emotional issue. What are you seeing and hearing in Austin, which has an anti-war tradition dating back to the days of LBJ?
Yeah, Greg, I don't know torn, but maybe conflicted. And yes, Austin historically has been an anti-war community. And earlier this month here in Austin, there was a big pro-Palestinian march downtown. Austin's Congressman Greg Casar also last week released a poll that he paid for of likely Democrat voters in his district. It showed overwhelming support for a ceasefire and for his primary re-election. Now, it's worth noting that Casar's poll numbers may be a little skewed to the high side because of the low number of people surveyed, about 400 people, and how the ceasefire question was actually written. It read, Congressman Casar has called for a ceasefire in Gaza and the immediate release of Israelis hostages taken by the terrorist group Hamas. Congressman Casar has said the security of Israel can be guaranteed without the killing of thousands more innocent Palestinians. Now, that's a really broad statement, but I don't think it's that simple, which is why my word was quicksand. But Greg, getting back to what the Congressman McCaul said, I find it interesting how he described the people in Gaza as being victims of Hamas and in need of rescue.
Hey, Stephen, McCaul contends social media on platforms consumed by younger Americans is being manipulated by the Chinese and Russians to alter the narrative, demonize Israel, and blame shift away from Hamas after their October 7th slaughter of Jewish civilians. You agree or disagree with McCaul?
I think it's a mixed bag. I mean, we know that there is outside influences when it comes to, especially with younger people, are able to see the algorithms. He mentioned if you search certain words, there are outside influences that are affecting social media. And so he has a point in a way of saying that the narrative is being impacted, but also here in the States, a narrative is being impacted depending on where you consume your news. And so I mentioned complex because it's not just one side fits all. There are innocent people on the other side and Palestinians who have been killed in this, and that's just the nature of war itself. But is there influence when it comes to social media? Sure, but I don't think that that's dramatically changing people's opinion, in my opinion.
Rudy, we are 11 months and change away from the 2024 election. President Biden has drawn some criticism from many Democrats and even letters of protest from hundreds of his own administration members for refusing to pressure Israel to call off its counterattack on Gaza. Question, does this crisis have the potential to undermine the president's support in the crucial months ahead?
You know, Greg, I doubt it will turn away any hardcore progressive and push them toward a GOP candidate, but it's certainly not Donald Trump if he ends up being the Republican nominee. But I think that the mixed messaging by the Biden administration, especially right after the terror attack, troubled Jewish Democrats. Losing them, and if the young voters fail to turn out in the general election, that will hurt Biden's re-election bid. Greg?
Stephen, polling has been all over the place on this issue. You know, some saying that Americans are for the ceasefire and against Israel overwhelmingly, others showing strong support for Israel. What are you seeing?
Yeah, and I think this goes back to education, right? Because a lot of people, as we mentioned earlier, are just consuming this from maybe social media posts or searching certain topics or hashtags. And so I think it goes to education. I think this is a torn subject where a lot of people want something for both sides, and we'll just have to wait and see how things sort out.
That's all the time we have. To see this episode, go to our station's YouTube pages.
Keep the conversation going by messaging us on our social media.
Governor Greg Abbott hasn't gotten everything he wanted in this special session. While he got something for the border, he didn't on education yet. We'll continue to monitor things in Austin. Until then, let us know what you think the issue is.